Hello everyone on the internet and thanks for tuning in. I'm RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to another episode of Toku Bros. I'm Dragon Zeron of the Tokusatsu Media Center, and this is Ranger Talks.
Link to the Morphin Grid. So,
Change yourself.
we are talking about the first 8 episodes of Dino Fury. We are talking the fact that we are now in the recess of Dino Fury. So, let's just get straight into it. So, what do you think overall of the last 8 episodes of Dino Fury?
It is meh to good. Like, there's some meh episodes, and then there are some good episodes that actually do pretty well. It's like a very mixed bag for me. So, and we'll get to those eventually, like when we get to
Yeah,
it,
we will go through it episode by episode. I mean, my overall
because
opinion is it's quite a low key. It's not quite as hype and as energetic as, say, Beast Morphers, but I am actually liking the whole sort of spirit, like kind of going back to basics, teaching kids lessons of the day kind of thing. So, I'll say I feel mixed still. Definitely say I feel mixed
I
still.
don't agree with you there. Sometimes those morals get
Well, I
slammed into
I
your head.
know I know in my plan script that I'll be talking about a lot of the morals that they're trying to teach, even if I feel that I'm definitely way too old for all of them. I mean, just to kind of go straight into like the overall choice of adapting Ryu Soldier, I will say
Hmm.
that I was generally disappointed. Like where we saw Beast Morphers go right back to Go Busters, which was kind of like a
Yeah.
kind of reversal of the usual year after year on year. I'll
Hmm.
then say Ryu Soldier is still okay, but again, I was such a mad fan of Q Ranger. I thought Tokuja would have been quite a unique one for them to do, considering what they did with Beast Morphers. I'll also
Hmm.
say, throwing shade at those who that even before Dino Fury was announced were like, oh, they probably will adapt to Ryu Soldier, which they were right, but then they were hollering about it being called Dino Knights, obviously for obvious reasons from the Ryu Soldier series.
Hmm.
But when they did announce that it was Dino Fury as opposed to Dino Knights, I just went on a trolling rampage against all those that thought it would be called Dino Knights, and they were all really upset. How about you?
I was like, well, I wasn't really shocked that they were going to use Dino Knights because that's like the most overused
Apart from the
name
fact that it was
in
called Dino
real.
Fury, but yeah.
Yeah, like it was one of the most overused names in like fan fictions and stuff on Power Rangers fanon. A lot of them will always use like Dino Knights and shit and like make their own version. There's like 4 or 5 versions of Dino Knights on there, and they're all fucking based off of Ryu. So
I
I'm like,
mean, I did hear a fan like made theme for Dino Knights, which I have to admit, I kind of felt mixed about it. But
yeah,
again,
but I have to, like the thing is,
I don't know what like kind of what's the word, like a sort of narcissistic way of just the fact that they just went Dino Fury. I'm like, right, I'm done here.
hmm. Well, they did act like that guy. Actually, I know who you're talking about. He'd done other things as well. Like he had Power Rangers Rail Force or Imagination Rail or something like that, and
Well,
then he had another
I mean,
one.
again, there was so much fan fiction for Dino Knights, but let's get on and talk about Dino Fury. So, our episode 1 was called Destination Dino Henge, which
Hmm.
just watching the general first episode, it literally was a whole Nickelodeon setup. So, it's all clean cut. You got like that whole shot of the Buzz Blast center, like media center where they do all their reporting. And
Hmm.
again, just like when you think about how it was at the Juice, like if I'm making comparisons to Morphin, Mighty Morphin, it's like, like at least with the Juice Bar and the school, like it didn't have such a clean feel, whereas this felt too clean in my opinion.
But well, that's the thing when you get about media, like companies. If you look at Google or like Buzz or not Buzz Blast, but whatever Buzz
BuzzFeed. I
Feed.
mean, I am going to
Yeah,
make the BuzzFeed comparison in a sort of
like
moment.
a lot of their offices are like very much like that. So it's not that far
Well, I
off based
guess
on what
because
they.
they've gone for that, like that sort of working, they've got working range as opposed to high school range. So I can kind of see it, but again, just those clean cuts from, just kind of that clean setting, just kind of doesn't have that feel because like you take Beast Morpher's intro for example.
Mm-hmm.
they had their own sort of leisure center, and then it was like all about grid battle force and da 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 da. Whereas here it just felt too clean, and then they kind of go into the park, which at least kind of mixes it up a bit. But I'll talk about the sort of plot holes going on. But I'm going to talk a massive plot hole right now, and that is about the Morphin Masters. Now, I'm going to go straight in on this and say I'm very disappointed in the way that they have portrayed the Morphin Masters throughout.
And yeah,
So
and also
just to go into it. So like back in the 90s, Zord. Yeah, I mean, apart from the fact that Mighty Morphin was far from clean, it was quite erratic and random. In Mighty Morphin, and this is something that I've said to so many people online, is that in Mighty Morphin, the Morphin Masters that Zordon would randomly refer to was just Zoo Ranger footage where they couldn't be bothered to like use like footage without Geki, Ghosh, and even Boy,
mhm.
Dan, May. The Morphin Masters were basically the Zoo Rangers in the original 90s show. But yet, what they've done, I'm pretty sure it started off in Boom Comics, where they then brought back this idea of Morphin Masters, and they just kind of made them these kind of godly beings that had like made the morphing grid. So yeah, like again, I like the idea, but the way Boom Comics and then Destination
The
Dino
TV
Hedge
show
have
does it.
portrayed the Morphin Masters, I'm a little hacked
Um,
off that they've not at least gone back to the Zoo Ranger style.
have you seen episode 8 yet?
I
Cause
have, and we
they
will talk about that later. Um,
well, their Morphin Masters, like, it kind of pisses me off.
go on.
Um, they're basically the ones who created the Ninja Steel and the Energems and shit, and I'm like, all this fucking
See,
bullshit, and I'm like,
go on.
I felt like this was half-assed, like they were trying to make an exclamation for their show, even though we really didn't have to. And I'm
I disagree. I mean,
what?
like, because
Like the
again,
thing is,
in
like, because it just seemed like why put them in these shows and stuff when they should have kept the idea of mystery, with those items, have them be like artifacts of the past,
I
and like
s-
because if you remember Ninja Steel, they had the Gold Ranger, like the brand with Mick and the dad becoming Rangers,
well, again, we'll
like
talk
for
more
sure.
about episode 8 when we get to episode 8. I mean, from the point you're making, I mean, bearing in mind in Beast Morphers, we had like this whole closet full of like like PR gadgetry. So
Hmm.
I think that the actual story and like the premise of the Morphin Masters and how they've expanded on it's fine, if I'm honest. So
Hmm.
like whether they've made the ninja start the ninja prism thing, and like
Hmm.
it kind of goes to explain that literally everything in the PR universe could have essentially been made by the Morphin Masters. I actually like that. And like
Yeah, but
again,
the thing
to
is, it
give
was just a little bit
Boom
too
Comics
much,
its due, like they also tried to expand on it, and they mainly went on with the blue. I think they called it the blue being or something, and with that they were able to like do this whole premise and like give them more function. But with the way that it was done, the way that they looked, that's all I disagreed with. But let's get on and talk about let's actually move on and talk about the actual Rangers we have in this series. So we
mm.
have a lot of history for Zato, our Red Ranger. The fact,
Like,
like
what do you think of him? Like,
I mean, I like his character, but the backstory is just so far fetched to like 65 million years, etc. I mean,
hmm
like when it comes to like the base, like the fact that there was this, this Dino Henge thing just sitting there for 65 million years untouched, just doesn't feel like feasible to me. Like, I mean, as fictitious as the PR universe is, just
hmm
like something being sat there for 65 million years without anyone kind of exploring it just kind of doesn't feel that believable. And like but the stuff like with him fighting on Rafcon as a knight, that was kind of at least a little amusing. I mean, what are your thoughts on Red?
Um, for me, I feel like Zato kind of had like the stereotypical like night pat like past, like trap, because it's been hurt like done so much before, like with some Vandar will like show you gold and stuff.
Well,
Like I
again,
felt
they
like
are. I mean, they are taking that. Yeah, I guess that's a little bit from the Sentai universe, which, admittedly,
hmm
I didn't see it like that. But I like the fact that you picked up on it. But I'm gonna go straight on and criticize Blue just because I can. With Ollie, I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with his character. I mean, he's all right. He's not very He
he's
doesn't
kind
really
of a
stand out.
one-dimensional.
But for me, I mean, maybe a little bit two-dimensional, admittedly. But for me, he's just a third Sudaso brother. So you had the guy who played Koda in
Yoshi
Dino Charge,
Yoshi
and the guy
Tadarsa
who
and
played, I can't even
Peter
remember his name, the blue Ninja Steel Ranger who
Ninja
were
Steel, yeah,
brothers.
Peter.
And this guy, I mean, his name was Peter Sudaso, but then this guy, Ollie, whatever the actor's name is, he's just the third Sudaso brother, in my opinion. They've not really kind of gone out there with
Change.
this character.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like there's really nothing there yet for him. I want there to be. I actually want to see more character development for his character, but out of all the Rangers, he's the only one who doesn't really have that much development per se.
I will. I mean, I'll still slightly disagree with it. I mean, I'm just talking about kind of his presentation and general personality. I
hmm
mean, just to go into the Buzz Blast thing. I mean, I actually like the fact that it's a BuzzFeed knockoff. Like, it kind of gives it a setting. It kind of gives the Rangers a purpose, like an
hmm
occupation, so to speak. And then, like, kind of the merging of, like Amelia, our Pink Ranger, meeting Ollie. I actually like the whole, they've kind of taken it from Kamen Rider Ghost, in my opinion, where you've got Ollie, who's all about science, and then you've got Amelia, who's all about the spirituality.
Onari
Hence
and
her
Okai.
original. I mean, even though she's quite a peppy kind of, she's a very typical peppy pink character. Um, I like the fact that she's more about the spiritual and he's more about the science, and that's kind of where they clash, which again isn't the most original idea. But I think for the Ranger universe, it kind of is. I mean, I'm
hmm
sure there's examples prior
I
to.
feel like they might actually end up hooking up or something.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, I will talk about. I mean, episode 2 or 3 was it? It was either episode 2 or 3. We really see them go into that kind of love tension thing.
Yeah, and then
But
after that, they haven't really done anything with it, but we'll get to there.
I mean, all right. So let's talk about the powers in Beast Morpher. So I do, So even though I criticize the fact that there's this base sitting there for 65 million years, I do kind of like the way that it's set up quite around. Again, the premise of the Morphin Masters, and then like the henchmen were actually originally powers of like the Morphin Masters and that, and then Void Knight, our protagonist, takes it, which is kind of
A unique way to like set up the henchmen, like the foot soldiers of the villains, which I had never actually seen that before, and even in Sentai, I don't think they ever done that. Which I really do. I actually did enjoy that type of thing. So
one criticism I would have though is that all this kind. I mean, because with Beast Morphers it was so subtle, but with Dino Fury, this hard direct reference to the Morphin Grid does seem forced. And with Void Knight, I mean, he's a bit vague, but he does have the potential set up to a good premise, including
yeah,
what
and
happened in
that
episode 8.
we'll
I'll
get there when
still
we get there.
say, just to round off episode 1 finally, I'll say that the choreography, like the fine choreography, still felt a bit too wire. I mean, I'll say it felt a lot of wire works, and just they could massively improve on it. Just bearing in mind that this isn't an MA orientated Ranger series.
hmm Like I think that eventually we will like see like more practical, and I think we do actually start seeing some of the Rangers do stuff
I'd say
without wires.
mainly from Zato, but that's just my opinion. Going straight
Well,
on,
I
yeah,
did see some stuff from like
of
Dino Hunter Dino in episode 7, I think.
sure.
She's hot, by the way.
Of course, but I wasn't going to say anything honest. So
But
moving
that's
on to
what she said.
episode 2, we've got Sporix Unleashed. So they introduced the T-Rex Mega, which is a decent mecha, but it's pretty standard. But I do miss that Tiramigo vibe from Ryu Soldier.
Tiramigo was an amazing
He
character, and
was,
like
but the thing is,
I
like,
feel like Solarian is that the Solarian,
I don't know what you're
the
talking
little
about.
dino, the
Anyway,
dino guy.
you're right. Anyway, I kind of know what you're talking about, but I will say that with in the whole Sentai universe, all the Dino themed Sentai, the Dinos talk. I think the whole Ranger universe have totally missed out on the dinosaurs talking, because that would have been amazing. I mean, even if they didn't want to kick off a Mighty Morphin like that, Dino Thunder, Dino Charge, Dino Fury, they could have made the dinos talk, especially for Tiramigo. And considering Abaranger, those dinos were absolutely mad. Although, actually, no, in Kyoryuja, they didn't talk, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So,
they didn't talk in Corridor,
but
but it
then
was a good show though.
moving on to more adaptation in this episode 2, we get introduced to Mucus, who is the adaptation of Cleon. So I think they're very similar in honesty, and I don't think that's a bad thing either. Your thoughts?
I feel like Mucus is kind of an annoying character, but that's
So
what you
is
kind of
Cleon,
get
if I'm
when you
honest.
got. Yeah, she's basically she's a one-off adaptation of what's her name from New Soldier what's the green alien name in New Soldier?
Who?
That's Mucus. Mucus
Oh,
is that.
Cleon.
Yeah, Cleon. They're basically the same exact
I
character,
mean,
just
so
like
just
there's nothing different.
so like in general, just to kind of really wrap this up. So like I'll say there was still some good stuff in this episode. There was the comical training sequence at the beginning, and again that whole moral of teaching about teamwork. So I really feel that even though it's a massive cliche, and again it's something like Sentai and Ranger, it's always going to be about teamwork. So they really drive this home in this episode, bearing in mind it's only the second episode.
We do get some good CGI though, of some explosions and
I'll
stuff.
say, but I'm gonna say, in my opinion, the CGI does get goofier as the show goes on. But I'll still say,
Yeah.
like, sort of a few more nods. Like, again, I talked about Buzz Blast being like the BuzzFeed knockoff, which was a good thing. But I also see it as a nod to Ryu Soldier, where you had Yui be
Who's
like
rest in peace.
rest in peace, like being sort of internet blogger and being that, whereas they've obviously evolved that kind of idea and made it the backdrop to Dino Fury. I mean, the one thing I will say that I don't like in these two episodes so far is that goofy Mexican park warden, Warden Garcia. I mean, we do
Yeah.
briefly see Ollie's mum, who is kind of milfy. I'm not gonna lie. But we do also get introduced to Jayborg, who I'm absolutely irritated by. Because I thought, watching episode 1, I was like, oh, because again, especially here in the room, was like I remember hearing that they were going to cast like older actors for the for the comic relief. But then watching episode 1, I thought they'd done away with that. But then seeing Jayborg, I'm like, no, it's back Nickelodeon style as per usual. I do like the fact that they've brought teleportation back into Dino Fury. And like those wristwatches, obviously not as iconic as the Mighty Morphin ones, but they still look pretty stylish.
You also forgot to mention Jayborg was actually created by Hartford Technology.
Yes, I'm glad you picked that up, because I do remember seeing that, but I didn't write it. And
That's a very subtle reference.
I'll also say the one thing I felt mixed about is introducing a Ranger hotline for people to just call up the Rangers. I mean, they should have.
I'm not against that.
They should have made it an app, to be fair, and then they're not.
Well, technically, it already is, from what I've heard. Like from based on
it's a number. No. Like if you look, there are plenty of screenshots of the Ranger hotline. Again, it's a hotline. It's not an app. It's not a number. It's a number. That's kind of the point. And just to finally really to kind of bring it in. So the villain. So like with the villain set up, we've got this whole Sporix collection thing, which in episode 1 was quite goofy, the way they kind of lost a whole basket full of Sporix. And kind of similar to how Kamen Rider Ghost was as well. They're kind of doing this collection thing on how many Sporix each side collects.
How many Sporix are there? I do wish they would actually
I think
keep
the idea
count.
is that there's hundreds. Like again, it's just kind of like, because the Sporix is what originally defeated Rafcom, the planet of Zato, but then again, he literally had a whole basket full, like it was kind of like a drawer full of Sporix, and then Void Knight let them loose. I mean, yeah, just go over episode 2. Like, the dam setting was a bit of a cliche, but was still a good area to have, like, fight scenes, etc. It's always a good staple, whether it's a cliche or not. But then finally, just to talk about Area 62, the villain base. I actually think this is a good idea, and the whole gauge of, like, filling this gauge up with Sporix to give Void Knight power, which, again, is kind of hinted at in episode 8. Do you have any thoughts on the villain setting?
The villain setting is not that bad. It's like, like we haven't really had a villain HQ in a while. That's like actually original. You know what I mean?
Let's see. I mean, because like with Beast Morphers, it kind of felt a bit bleh, but I'll actually
Well,
say
that's because that's what the original
but then
Go-Busters.
I will say like Area 62 just feels a little bit more rounded. Plus, you get to see the outside as well as inside. That's just again, that's kind of a minor comparison. But moving on to episode 3, Lost Signal. So this was introduction to the auxiliary mecha, which I felt was standard and boring. I mean, I do feel mixed about the more goofy setup for this premise, and again, this is where we are setting up that sort of love tension between Amelia and Ollie. Like, we've got the scene at the fair, we've got the scene with, again, this is the one where Zato's got like this kind of diamond thing that's supposed to have a message on it, and then they go to this fair where there was like this sort of fortune teller person, and Ollie, again, this whole spirituality versus science thing, again, it just comes at it from Amelia and Ollie once again, and Ollie absolutely desecrates Amelia on this one, which is kind of amusing to some extent. But I do like, and again, I'm keeping this one brief, but like with Zato's history, like it gives a really big, a very well-rounded, but not necessarily consistent and has a few plot holes, but it gives Zato that good history background. And again, like we see a lot of goofy comedy CGI in this episode, which I just really don't feel. But I do think there was some good choreography fighting wise. And the main lesson, like again with the whole diamond and retrieving the message, and we hear a lot about Zato's mother, is to never give up, which is a very massive, big lesson for those children out there. So your thoughts on episode 3?
I thought it was alright. It was an alright episode, like them trying to explore the forest more, and try to get more information of the Dino Fury. It's like it's actually really interesting, and I do hope we do get to see Ollie's mom more, because I think she could actually be able to provide some more character. But I don't know if you saw, but it looked like she was trying to hook up with Garcia, trying to get that.
I think you're mixing the mothers up, because I was talking about Zato's mother from the planet Rafcon, and then you've got Ollie's mother, who's like...
I did not remember seeing
Zato's mother
Zato's
in the
mom.
flashbacks. Alright, because that's what I was talking about, but...
I don't remember her.
In the flashback scenes, when he's thinking about his life on Rafcon, no? Alright.
I don't remember.
Alright, well, we'll roll... On that note, we'll roll on to episode 4. New recruits. I think the name of the episode kind of gives away what's going to happen here. So firstly, I'll say I absolutely like Boom Tower. I think he's a little bit more, I don't know why, but I think he's just like a little bit more well-rounded than his Sentai counterpart. I mean, he's a fairly standard villain, to be honest, nothing fancy, but what do you think of Boom Tower quickly?
He's alright, I just wish the voice was not the real gravity voice,
That's a very big PR staple, whether it's Goldar or Goldar Maximus, right? But let's talk about the Rangers. So we get the tomboy, Green Ranger Izzy. I do feel, compared to the actress who was originally going to play Izzy, this Izzy is a lot more believable as a tomboy. I'll be honest, I didn't quite...
Wait, who was the chick who was going to play Izzy originally?
I think she was like I think they're both Latina, to be fair, but I think the actress who was originally meant to play Izzy was called Alexandria something or other, but then they replaced her with someone else, our Izzy that we know, with the frizzy hair. I mean, again, so like talking about her personality, I just felt she grated on me a little bit, like the whole setup, the whole interview thing with Zato. I didn't really like that, but like the setup for Black Ranger, I felt was great. So I actually liked the Black Ranger, like the way he was kind of like all cool and broody, and You know, like again, he's trying to get the thing at he's trying to get a spot at Buzz Blast as well. But the one thing I won't say I like about, one thing I don't like about Black is his name. So it's pronounced like Yavi, and I think it's meant to be a Latino name or something. But he doesn't.
Javi.
But then,
it's Javi.
But then Harvey is like, because for us we spell Harvey Harvey, but then he's one spelled Javi. Which
it's a Latino thing in America, right?
I mean, again, because the actor
They're
doesn't
British.
take me as Latino, but obviously I was talking. I mean, I think it's a Western spelling with the H.
But yeah, it's American. No, it's like a Mexican thing, like Garcia.
I mean, it's neither here nor there. But then just the spelling, just really.
I live on the near the border of Mexico and stuff, and there's a lot of Hispanic.
I'm not too sure
Javi's
if he's
not
adopted, but again, like I'm just not buying him being Latino. I don't think he is, but the setup.
I think he is. I think
the thing is, like,
they might actually be
half. And Izzy is that they're meant to be stepbrother and stepsister, which again, I just absolutely.
What are you doing, stepbrother?
Exactly. So going into like the gist of the episode. So there's like this ball of power. They fight. Yeah, they smash it. They get the keys. They become Rangers, which kind of feels a bit meh. But it's still quite cool, and again, I think the big
I think it would have been a better idea if it was just one episode, that one Ranger, But you gotta admit that cool scene where she
no, I actually disagree. I'll say, like, I like the fact that they brought in stepbrother, stepsister together and introduced them together. I mean, bearing in mind in Ryu Soldier, Black and Green were together from the off because they were brothers. And of course, the final big takeaway from episode 4 is when Izzy rips her skirt off. One thing.
No, that was actually a really cool idea, and I actually did like the canon.
I thought it was a funny idea because everyone's always on about how Mighty Morphin Yellow didn't have a skirt but Pink did, and then one thing that apparently has been spotted online from episode 1 was that when you see like flashbacks of the original 6 Rangers, apparently Green wore a skirt, but I do not know that for myself, admittedly.
I say we wait a bit. Hopefully they'll actually air the stuff in Britain the first time, like they did for Beast Morphers.
That'd be awesome. I mean, that'd be awesome. I mean, I already went on about that last year. But moving on to episode 5, Winning Attitude. So I really feel that I forgot about these orcs mecha from Ryu Soldier. I mean, I felt generally split about it. It's but one big takeaway from this is how they do include like a support character of special needs, which it does take me back to Mighty Morphin when Kimberly befriended a deaf girl. So having a girl with special needs in this episode, I thought was quite landmarkish, if you will.
And I would like to see more people like her in the future potentially.
A lot of people certainly would. But
maybe even as a Ranger, like I would like to see an autistic Ranger or somebody with disability.
I think a lot of people feel that way, but I think it just depends. I mean, because I know there's some Toku fan fiction out there. Someone started doing a comic with a Ranger in a wheelchair, which when they morph, they're literally this kind of this big vehicle. But so going back onto episode 5, I mean, this lesson does teach a good lesson about patience and understanding. I mean, as an adult, I feel this lesson's more natural, but bearing in mind this is taught for children, like, it does teach this lesson to be taught in harshest circumstances. I mean, the episode was a bit cliche considering I'm not too hot on this tomboy Green Ranger, as I said. But at least she's kind of got a bit of oomph. She's battle hungry, and even though this lesson should have been, again, like I felt natural, I do like the fact that it has taught this lesson. And again, it's such a strong moral, to be patient regardless of who you're being patient with. Your thoughts?
I thought it like the way they handled the thing about Izzy like helping with her friend and real like we kind of like learn. Like, I like the moral. Like, sometimes some people, like, get busy, and then you learn what they're actually doing. But at the same time, sometimes I do think there is a negative to that moral. And I think that's, like, people can sometimes be lying to you. They won't tell you they don't want to hang out with you, And So, it could be taken as any way, you see it.
All right, but we also see that this. I mean, in my opinion, this episode really tests the difference between Power Ranger and Super Sentai footage. So I will say, like, I could tell, like back, like I guess back in the day, I didn't know that there was a difference. As an adult, you'd be able to see in the older Power Ranger series, like the difference between Sentai and PR footage. Whereas here, like, I'm spotting a lot of Japanese writing in the background, especially in this episode.
Yeah,
So that
same.
was one of my takeaways from episode 5. But going on to episode 6, a very fun episode, Superstition Strikes. Now, I wasn't really hot on this pink based Ranger episode, and the setup of Pop Pop, which I'm just like,
he's your,
I mean,
he's your dad.
he's not my dad. But like,
That's what you call your dad, dude.
I will say, I say father for one. But like, I'll still say, like, it does kind of take me back to like Yellow Ranger Trini, having her uncle like teaching gung ho and stuff. But I just kind of felt, I've got to be honest. I wasn't too sure for a while. I wasn't too sure that it was her father or her grandfather. So like, there was quite a bit of ambiguity there for a hot minute there. And
it would have been funny if he was your father.
It then also goes in a little bit further with that whole science versus spirituality thing, and the lessons that we're taught about, not just that whole superstition thing, but you see Solon, the assistant, who I've not really talked about that much, who's
and she's played by Morgan.
Morgana, yeah. So, like, we see Solon kind of really bigging up Amelia, and, so it does still teach that good lesson. So, again, it's still very strongly moral based, as I said at the very beginning here. And, like, it does, but when it talks about, there's just, that we've only got one additional morpher left, and I just kind of feel that sort of tech-based randomness kind of goes back to the Mighty Morphin era. But considering we've come a long way since then, it just kind of felt a bit random and a bit haphazard.
Yeah, like, I feel like sometimes that they try to, like, add stuff when there really isn't really that much to add, you know what I mean? And, like, I feel like this episode is one of the weaker ones, to be honest with you. And, like, we do get to see jayborg, and I'll admit the scene where it showed jayborg and whatever the news lady is named, the blonde one, like
Jane.
them running down the hill. Yeah, Jane running down the hill in that car. I actually did kind of like laugh a bit at that. Like, I was just laughing at their misfortune. And I think that's actually one of the funnier.
Again, I've not really spoken about Jane and jayborg, but I'll be honest, again, it's so Victor and Monty. I mean, at least Ben and Betty from Beast Morphers had some intelligence to them, and they kind of
for me, I think it's like 75-25.
I mean, they tried to make Vic and Monty prevail at the end of Ninja Steel, but I'm sure they'll do the same with these two if they're going to follow that pattern. But I'm just like, really, why? What's the point?
I think because Simon Bennett, the writer of this show and producer, he's listening to a lot of the fans and he's helping.
I heard that actually. I did.
And we might actually be able to get him on if he's willing, and we could talk to him about it.
He's a very busy man. But
you never know.
Moving on to episode 7, Stego Search. Now, I actually really like this episode, and I don't know why. Apart from the fact that maybe it hits on a lot of my childhood and adulthood passions, that being, I absolutely, apart from the fact that I liked dinosaurs as a child, my favourite dinosaur was the Stegosaurus, admittedly. But then just the fact that Harvey is this kind of broody musician, it just kind of hits all the right notes. And the fact that this is an episode based on him, I did like that. But something I didn't.
Music.
Yeah, go on. It was
the music was a bit off. Like, I don't know, just him. Like, me being a musician, I'm like.
Again, bearing in mind it's a children's show, and again, but it kind of it's just the premise of it is kind of cool, and again, it hits on that whole sort of internet sensation thing with the whole buzz blast thing. You've got that going on. But one thing I didn't quite get to hit on earlier is how, apart from the fact that I already said that I don't really like Warden Garcia, but I just don't like the way that he's being so harsh on Harvey. I mean, it's kind of very typical parent.
Well, I'm thinking that it might actually not be his kid. I think his daughter,
I
like,
don't know, but
and there
it's
is some like
so.
there. I think he prefers his
Is it?
daughter.
Yeah, but that's kind
And
of thing. Like, it just kind of feels.
I don't.
It feels so off. I mean, Warden Garcia as a character feels off to me.
There
But
had to have like I heard he was actually supposed to be a cop. Like originally, he was going to be a
yeah, but
cop,
that
and
just goes back to Lieutenant Stone in like Mighty Morphin
Well,
Series
the thing
3.
is, like cops now, that's why his character is probably written as a brute because of cops now,
I
and
mean,
then
like the episode overall. I mean, especially when you look at the whole, sympathizing with Izzy and stuff. It's all a bit predictable, and it's still all quite sad.
I'm hoping that they do redeem Garcia a bit because he like his character is kind of an ass. But I kind of want to know what made him become an asshole. Like
I
what
don't.
was
I
some
think no. I
what
think it's a
was
given,
something Jobby
really.
did.
I doubt. Who knows? Possibly. Who knows? But like, in this episode, we still get a bit more goofy CGI from the comedy duo that it is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to Area 62, again, we see that Boom Tower actually takes energy away from the gauge, which kind of, which technically should mean the Sporix for Void Knight goes down in number, but it's still quite confusing. But then Mucus then collects it again at the end. Anyway,
I also forgot to mention this is the episode where the Zords fall apart, right?
no, that's the next one.
Okay.
Which we're actually all right. We'll go on to it right now. So,
Yeah.
episode 8, unexpected guest. So, just to literally hit on what you said. So basically,
We get original Zord footage for the first time
so
since
basically,
SPD.
so basically, we get 2 monsters of the week here. I can't remember the first one, but the second one was based on a wolf, and the wolf. I mean,
Wolfgang.
based on the Sentai counterpart, was actually a little bit confusing because again, bearing in mind bearing in mind Sentai at this point was going for like regular size, but then the enlarged version would be altered in some way. So there was a little bit of confusion with, I believe his name was Wolfgang in Dino Fury. So we see Wolfgang howling, which is how the mecha falls apart, and then Mick, who just haphazardly happens to be chasing the ninja prism through the Dino Fury universe, whether they're all part of the main universe or what. We then see all this kind of fan fiction brought to the main canon of like the Morphin Masters and how like everything you complained about earlier, basically. But the fact that they brought, I mean, we all love the actor who plays Mick Anik.
Yes.
But I still don't like this character. I've got to be genuinely honest.
Mick Hanna, I don't know.
He
just
irritates me a little bit. But again,
he's kind of like a bumbling idiot.
Favorite. I will still like give him his props for being an actor veteran.
Yeah, Henderson, whatever. He's super cool.
But the thing is, with Mechanic, I don't remember him being a shapeshifter.
I actually do, but they never really did.
Itself.
Very early on, he was like a Furby or something, but then they just stopped using that part of his power. But I'm shocked they actually remember.
Then. I mean, I do like I did like the cliffhanger for Void Knight, and it kind of explains how, like compared to the Ryu Soldier universe, where we see, I can't remember his name in Ryu Soldier, but where he becomes like, Naga becomes good and then dies off. Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
But then so that's his name, Guy Sorg. No, that was from Go Kaiju, wasn't it? Anyway.
No, Guylorg is actually his name.
Guy Sorg. Yeah, it is. But like I'll say, like it will just show how he'll become good later on. It will be interesting to see if they incorporate Ryu Soul Brown into Dino Fury somehow. That'd be quite amusing.
I don't think so. To be honest with you, I don't think they're gonna.
You never know. Still, like again, we've got this heavy Mighty Morphin reference, and then the whole Nexus Prism is a good link way to every Ranger team. So, massively disagreeing with what you said earlier. I mean, it was a good end to Boom Tower. I mean, again, like the fact that this character was killed off quite early on in both shows just kind of shows that there's a lack of footage of this one character.
I do like the original footage that we saw for Zords and stuff, and I do hope that they consider doing more of that, because I want to see more American stuff. Satsu, basically, like Zords actually fighting, with actual pyro, and like, because Sentai, you know how it is, like after 5 episodes, they go to the stereotypical city or like the little countryside, and just like half-ass all the special effects and stuff. They don't try to make
Well, I
these
guess
sets.
it also depends on budget as well. I mean, we know that they've already started recording Dino Fury season 2 anyway, but so yeah, like we're
Mm-hmm,
obviously at the end of this first half of season 1. I mean, to
mm-hmm.
just to throw shade at Mechanic a bit more, like Ninja Steel was a goofy, bad series in my opinion. Anyway,
It was a shit
and then the
series, to be honest.
fact that they brought in this random character who brought about a resolution to the monster of the week in such a goofy kind of unintelligent way, and then he clears off in a space taxi, just kind of goes to show what kind of show Ninja Steel was.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm feeling mixed about what they're gonna do with the Morphin Masters, but I do like that link way into that they created all these random objects for random reasons. It'll be interesting to see how they develop that. Any thoughts on episode 8 and the first 8 episodes overall?
So episode 8 is like an alright episode, not great by any means. Like I do wish Mick was actually there longer and actually meant something, like at least give us something to further the plot, be like, he did say, oh, I never heard of Afcon. I do think instead of saying, oh, he didn't heard, he'd be like, I've heard rumors of that planet still existing, but I think that would have been a better thing.
I get what you're saying, but again,
yeah, I don't know. It just felt like
they must have just
half-assed.
felt the need to include him because he's a veteran actor. They could have done an original character. Or maybe he had limited availability or something. But
Yeah,
they could have brought
but
back.
he would see
They could have brought back the character from SPD. Like he had a good
or
character at SPD.
yeah, I would like to see Boom and be like, what year is this or something. Well, 2025 is when we'll be able to see Boom.
That's
So,
exact. I mean, again, they could have done so much with his actor, considering his
hmm
history. But
yeah, and
okay,
it's
so so just to round off Dino Fury's first 8, again, I'll say again, I loved how it was so morally driven. I mean, again, still that very strong Nickelodeon vibe. Still missing a few marks in my opinion, and obviously you can't really do much about the mecha considering it's Sentai based, but it just kind of, at least they know where they're concentrating their efforts, which all power to them, I guess.
and I do think the second part of Dino Fury is going to be better.
It'll be
So
interesting to see what happens this winter.
because I do want to see how they're going to debut fucking what's his name.
Yeah, you're talking about the Gold Ranger. I mean, they've already announced who the actor. I mean, there was the rumors a while ago.
He's actually from Houston, actually.
Very good. Like there's a lot about him being the African American Sixth Ranger, and he's quite cool on that. And he's also going to be from RAFCON as well. So it is going to be interesting to see what they do with the Gold Ranger. And
I'm starting to think that people from RAFCON are actually black people. Like I'm thinking that. The thing is, like, they're like, I don't know. I can explain it whenever.
We'll end it there. So thank you everyone for watching us here at the Toku Bros.
Well, sure, and thanks for coming.
You've got myself, RyuKiva, which I'll get back to in a second. Let me go that way. Right, so you got us at the Toku Bros. You can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, and Reddit, as well as this very YouTube channel. We've got our Twitter at Toku Bros 71. When it comes to Discord, we've got our new Discord server up, which is in conjunction with Tokusatsu Media Center. It is called Discord Media Center, and the link is in the description.
Yep, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I just hit 1,000 subscribers. I might be. Thank you. I'm gonna be doing something like more. I didn't really do that much per se because I've been having issues with the people on YouTube. So, But anyway, you could check me out on Instagram stuff. I'll share my Toku covers whenever I get them or whatever. Facebook, really anything really. But yeah, So as we move on to RyuKiva's
Yeah,
stuff,
I will
so
do. I'll do my own, and then finally myself, RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku. You can catch her on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, my own Discord chat. Well, my own Discord ID, as well as my YouTube channel and my Twitter. I am looking to go into the fan subbing game real soon, so you can hit me up on LinkedIn, Patreon, as well as my new website, ryukivatoku.weebly.com. So thank you all for watching us here at Toku Bros. Join us next time, and as always, fish through the can. See you next time.